Welcome, everybody, to the, today's December. It's December, I can't speak today, December meeting of the Philipstown Conservation Board. Our first order of business is to introduce our new member.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bettina. I'm going to be with you for at least the next 2 years, I think. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to get to work.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard. Okay, let us begin with Szypula, if I'm pronouncing it properly, otherwise known as 4 Cliffside Court. So I think most of us were on a site visit. Cliffside Court is off of Upland Drive.
Yes.
So Margaret is going to talk about the alternative plan versus the original proposal.
Okay, all right. So most of you were at the original site walk. Bettina was there on Sunday. So the original site plan, I mean, the proposed location is directly behind the house, which would have this upper pond, which is really the sedimentation basin where any sediment from the pond is deposited, and then there's an overflow, and then the main pond. And if you remember, the original proposal had a lower pond also here, and that was eliminated after the original site visit. Now, the alternate location, excuse me, the alternate location is in an area that does not require a steep slopes permit. Which, according to the code, in order to issue the steep slopes permit, you have to look at an alternative location that meets the code, and if you determine that there's less of an impact to the environment by putting it on the steep slopes, that would be a better location for the use. Now, the area in the back where the steep slope is has already been disturbed. There's really no trees there. You know, it's kind of, you know, barren. You know, has a little bit of grass on it, I guess, but it's all the trees in this area were cut down by the previous homeowner. And this area over here, which disturbs about the same amount of square footage as it would over here, again, has a siltation basin up here, an overflow, and then the proposed pond. This, you would have to have more of a buildup than a cut down because there's less of a difference in elevation as there is between these two. But it would be a similar kind of construction, and if they were to build here, they would need no permits. They could just build it. The only reason they need a permit is they need a steep slopes permit. This area, although it doesn't have a lot of trees over 8 inches, it is, you know, has a bunch of trees here. A lot of trees. Again, this is like rock in between, so there would be a good way for the waterfall to go through. But we do feel that this has a less of an impact on the environment than this location. They would both have an overflow weir that would, you know, direct runoff down the hill, which eventually does get to a town wetland, which is off the owner's property. The weir would be able to hold a 100-year storm event, which is a little over 8 inches or 8.8 inches at this point. And it would have a cascading overflow, but it would be contained in a, you know, a controlled weir, so there is not an inundation of water all around the pond. It's a very controlled outfall, and that would be similar in both the alternative locations. Any questions?
So I had looked at the site on Friday
You went
when
on
it was
Friday.
staked out. In terms of tree removal, in my mind, that's sort of nothing with nothing. There's nothing of substance there. What I'm curious on is, on the alternate location, would they be hammering or drilling, or would they be building
They
up?
do not hammer or drill, there's no blasting.
So they would
The company
build,
that does this, they shape something into the environment that allows it to fit.
right.
So they will scrape down to rock and they will build up around it, but they don't blast and they
Okay,
don't
because
hammer.
where the original proposal was, and a lot of us have seen it, it's relatively steep, obviously, and it would, you know, you can almost make a natural pool by,
Right.
you know, putting a dam at the lower side. Here, what I saw, you know, it's rock ledge, but it's relatively flat,
Right, it's flatter, yep.
you know, so I was sort of curious what the pool company,
So
was-
again, they would probably build up, it would still look like a natural pond because they use erratics that they either find on site because the owner owns the next property and there are a lot of erratics that are just placed because they were taken from elsewhere on site when they built the septic system. So it's not like a bunch of erratics that are buried. They do have a source in, I think it's in Pennsylvania, where they get large, you know, erratic stones, and they would bring them to the site. So, it's always, looks like a natural pond when it's done, and whether, you know, whether it's in one location or the other, there, you know, there would have to be a wall, whether or not, if it's on one side, like on the proposed location, it would basically be on the low end, and you would be able to, you know, fill the pond up from that, because where the ledge is, you can scrape it out, so you'd make a little bowl and you'd put a retaining wall at the end, fill it up, and it would naturally be a pond. Whereas this flatter location, they'd have to probably, they'd scrape down to any bedrock they can find, but they would have to probably build up around 3 sides of the pond.
There'll be
But-
a liner in there?
There's always a liner.
right, but the alternate location, I'm going to say 60, 70% of it is exposed ledge right now.
Well, there's a big spot in the middle. Did you, where the flag's up when you were there?
Yeah, I mean,
There's a big spot in the middle.
Once you
that-
go, I guess it would be to the, if I'm getting my directions right, to the southwest. It becomes a little bit steeper.
Yeah, there's ledge here,
Yeah.
and there's ledge down here. This is steep here, falls off this, you know, but you
Right.
don't, we're not disturbing any rock, so. This is, you know, there's grass here, and there's
Yeah,
trees growing here.
there's grass and small trees, so
Yeah.
when I was looking at that, my feeling is that, you know, you're at rock ledge within 6, 8 inches, not much more.
You don't know until you
No,
put a
you
shovel
don't,
in the
but-
ground.
So,
And there's no current wet space over there? There's no wet?
no, either place there's not. So, I mean, this,
Under our purview then?
what's that?
Is this under our purview?
No.
It would not be under our purview if it becomes the alternate location. This is
It's
a
not under
referral.
your purview.
It's a
You're just
referable from the planning board
You're a referral,
because
so you don't
the
vote.
first proposal is in Class 2 steep slopes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I missed Ron. We were crossing paths, but you spoke to Ron, and his thoughts were,
Yeah, I mean, I think his initial concerns, but maybe this is different because maybe you had direct contact with the actual pond construction company, and I guess I was going to ask you if they have looked and reviewed at the alternate location in the field, and they feel comfortable that they can achieve what the homeowner wants in the alternate location based on the site constraints south of
Again,
the house.
they may not build it if that's the only place that you're gonna let them build it. I don't know if they're gonna build it if it's not in the,
So
they may.
because Ron's comments were from an engineering standpoint, he felt like the excavation could be a greater impact in that area because there was not a lot of soil
Yeah,
above
there's not a
bedrock.
lot of soil.
But if the pond installation company has given them assurances that they could create that situation south of the house, I think that that's still, based on Andy's memo, is what the board would prefer. So you don't have to go through the steep slopes code to get what the homeowner wants, essentially.
So the code says if the place that you're selecting is less impactful, then you should issue the permit. That,
Well, I guess, so are you arguing the point that this is more impactful than to build in the south part of the southern part of the property?
right, but I don't see that it's more impactful. You're building walls,
Right.
you're filling with water,
Right.
you know, and you're discharging to the same location. So you're either going to cut down more trees, leave an area that's, you know, already disturbed, continuously disturbed, and you're going to disturb an area that isn't disturbed.
Right.
Margaret, I haven't been at that part of it, or I don't remember that part of it, but how is the view from where the homeowners kind of have, you know, their patio and that hot tub? I mean, can they see this pond area better from where they are?
Better, I mean, they can see it.
Okay, because my thought on the other one was that most of it is going down, and so like when you're higher, you're gonna look down on it and not really see much of it. You'd have to be below it to kind of view it. So this location that you just proposed, they might actually have a better view there.
Right, but they also have like a little fire pit area that's down here by the bottom, which is closer, you know, to this location. And, you know, this is where they would like to build the pond, on their property.
So we need to provide another memo, probably albeit short, to the planning board. My question for everybody, I understand both points of view. I'm really not sure myself personally what's better, what's worse. Now that I hear that it's being built up, you know, it seems that they're sort of both equal. I think where we were concerned is, on the whole, we try to avoid precedent of building within 2 or 3 slopes unless there's no other place to build, or it becomes such a burden. This is sort of a balance. The planning board now has a meeting later from now on, 1 week later than they used to. I'm wondering, and it's up to all of you, I've seen it, do you want to take a look at the site before I put together a memo?
Good. It's pretty close to me.
They are meeting in December, they are meeting. and
Yeah, but it's a week later because the town is switching attorneys.
Sure.
That's, it
Oh,
doesn't
it
change
doesn't
until
change until-
January. So it's the
Yeah, so there
18th,
won't be
it's
the
the
Okay.
18th, which is
Yeah.
a week and a half.
I mean,
What's here?
This is it's basically a steep slope of a forest. It gets steeper here where we're in class 3. And there is a small wetland, let's say about half to 3/4 of an acre
The
Might be bigger
lower
than that.
Yeah, it
off
might
the
be.
property.
below.
Yeah.
So, you
And
know,
it's
we were concerned about
1,000 feet
drainage
away.
into
Yes.
that. Would this be less likely to drain if there was a
Well,
major
or
storm
would it-
event or collapse?
Would it drain slower too, because you
Yeah.
wouldn't have that?
Yeah.
No, it would drain the same. It would drain the same.
Well, if this is flatter, then it's not going to, the velocity isn't gonna be as bad
Right.
in
The
a,
weir that it comes out of will be the same width and the same depth, so the runoff will be exactly the same. So the pond level is at X, right? And so the weir is sitting at X, and I have a foot of freeboard where the water will overflow. And whether that's down the hill or up the hill, the discharge rate will be exactly the same because the weir dimensions will be exactly the same.
but there would likely be less absorption on a steep slope than there would be on a flatter zone, correct?
Right, but
When the water is
But the
flowing.
discharge, when the discharge goes into a level spreader and stone, so again, it's
It's gonna
apples to
slow the
apples.
velocity no matter what.
It's gonna slow the velocity. It's only 50 cubic feet per second on a 100-year storm event. Like,
Okay.
90 percentile storm event is 1.45 inches in this area. You know, I know that we do get a lot of heavier storm events.
Yeah,
I do.
Don't
I know.
jinx us.
No, don't jinx us. But, you know, even that tragic one that we had was 7 inches in like 6 hours or something like that. Again, this pond would be able to accommodate that and have it discharge at a slower rate, you know, a
Okay.
rate that's non-erosive.
Okay, good to know.
There's no source of water for this. All the
No.
water's gotta be brought in,
So
and whatever they collect from rainwater.
right, so initially, you know, they'll bring in trucks of water, and then it replenishes itself with rainwater.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think the system is holding a tremendous amount of water to begin with.
I mean, depending on, again, like, we're saying that the maximum they would go would be 4 feet, but if they hit ledge at 2, they're not gonna go deeper than that
All right, so what is
on
your...
the lower pond.
I forgot from the last time you presented, what was the calculation of the amount of water that the
I
system
think
would
it's
hold?
like 20,000 gallons or cubic, yeah, 20,000
Right.
gallons, about 20,000. Which is, you know, not an insignificant amount of
No.
water, but, you know, and I know that you had said that, I said we weren't going to engineer the wall, but that doesn't mean the wall isn't gonna be engineered.
right,
We're
we
just,
understand.
you know, Beatty
It's
and
not
Watson
your firm, right.
is not structural engineers, but there will be plans that are submitted to the building department,
Right.
no matter where, you know, it goes.
So thoughts, comments?
I mean,
It seems like it's a better location.
yeah.
Yeah, just
What
the way
about, I mean, in the memo to the planning board, to get that reiteration from the installation company, what the specific, you know, construction specifications are gonna be in the alternate location, if they can come up with some sort of a narrative that proves that that location is less favorable than the originally proposed location, that would probably help weigh this whole scenario out beyond, because I think the board feels like this would be the preferable location, even if you have to take out a few more trees that are not that substantial in size. You know, it's really coming down to design of the project at this point, to site this on the property correctly. So, you know, is there a statement they could give? Is there some sort of
I'm
field
sure I
evaluation?
can call them tomorrow morning and figure out something between,
I mean, by definition, by taking it out of the steep slopes, you're gonna have less impact. You're gonna, I mean, you're building in an area that's not designed to be built in, and so.
that's not true. I mean, you can build anywhere.
Well,
You can build
anywhere, but the
anywhere.
steep slopes code is
That-
saying that
that-
you shouldn't.
Right, but there's a permit for a purpose, and the purpose is to allow people to use their property.
This is a recreation, this isn't like, you know, a necessity.
There's not a stipulation that it needs to be a necessity in
In
the
the steep
code.
slopes, there's no stipulation that says it has to be a necessity?
No, it doesn't have to be a necessity, but on the whole, Class 2, Class 2 is really for mainly buildings, if they need to be there, and driveways. Class 3 is merely, if need be, driveways, right-of-ways, utility. If they were to use the alternative location, I'm assuming the amount of disturbance, they wouldn't even need to have come before the planning board. I think it might be under the threshold.
It is under the threshold.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think,
So
You know.
To me, that's like, that's the comparison there.
yeah, it is.
Less
So-
Precedent
disturbance.
setting steep slopes,
I mean, what I-
recreational use, or
Do you-
something that doesn't require the-
Have you or somebody at Beatty and Watson, are you in contact with the pool construction company?
Mhm. Yes, I've spoken
So
to them several times.
my suggestion is if in the next few days or early next week, we could get a statement from the builder
Okay.
that why this is preferable, it would allow us to craft a memo.
I can email it to Cheryl and she can
Right.
send it out to
I
the
mean, does
board.
that make sense? And then we can just all look at it, because I'm sort of tied. I understand both sides.
Well, you can also say that to the planning board.
Yeah, yeah. But I think if we had more information about the construction on the alternative site, it would be a great help.
One of the examples I think you showed in one of the pictures or somewhere in the set was of something like that was constructed and raised. And, that, you know, like, so they had to pump it up, but they had definitely had to construct that, so there might be some
So
examples.
most of the ponds that they build have an upper area and a lower pond with a waterfall feature.
Right.
So if you don't have a waterfall feature, it doesn't matter. But it's a recirculating pond. The pumps down at the bottom pump the water up to the sediment chambers, and then it actually gets pumped to the bottom of the sediment chambers, and they percolate up, and that cleans the water, and then it overflows on the waterfall. So there's a couple of, one site, off of 403, the same company built one at that property. They excavated a pond area, and it pumps to the top of a sheer cliff, and it's a waterfall off of the sheer cliff, but it's man-made. There was no water there. There was no original source. Water was brought in. And then there's also one at Boscobel that this company has constructed. And I know there's at least one other in the town. It was a different company that constructed it, but when I spoke with Greg Warner, he said he knows of one other that was constructed. Do you want me to see if I can find those pictures?
No, I just thought that
Okay.
there was already an example similar, you know, where they had constructed a higher part. You know.
They, if you go to their website, they go all over the country. They Arizona and, so it's not just, they're not just here. They're,
Right.
I have what might be a silly question or comment, but I'm going to say it anyway. Once this becomes naturalized, it's gonna wind up becoming a nursery for amphibians, and there's gonna be fish in it, and so does this then become a wetland on the property? That then needs to be,
it's not large enough. It can't be regulated.
okay,
For it to be regulated by us, or if we deem it of
okay,
important
so that would
value.
never, I'm just thinking like, are they now
Yeah,
creating a situation where they now have
like a roadside
a
ditch.
new,
Yeah, I mean,
a new
it's-
issue if they want to do anything else?
I mean,
on
they're
their
not
property?
treating the water with chemicals. Fish, I don't see existing in there, but
They're not-
amphibians,
They're not
possibly.
treating, they're not treating the
You know.
water.
They're not going to put fish in.
Right,
No fish.
so.
As long as it's under a quarter of an acre,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
based on the code. If it has a constant outflow, then it becomes an intermittent stream.
Yeah,
then we can
no.
regulate everything.
Yeah.
No, we don't have that.
The goal, it sounds like, is
Oh, man,
not to
it's
have a
all-
constant outflow or
All
something's
kinds of
wrong.
semantics.
Yeah. So then if you could get us information, a letter,
Get
and
you,
then we'll
I'll be on it
craft.
tomorrow.
And then we'll go by email, and within, the week before there's a planning board meeting, come up with what our thoughts are.
All right, I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for doing the alternative plan and coming in. Okay. Next up is Matthew and Laura Green.
I have a very big paper, if you guys want to see that one too. I think it's what you already saw, but it's the overlay.
So just as a recap, essentially, there is an existing, functioning, correct size septic system on the property, but you need to enlarge the tank, right?
We need to enlarge the tank in order to expand onto the house, but depending on this dry ditch, potential waterway, I probably need to change where the expansion fields are, because if you see the map, whoever designed the septic system 30 years ago, and I assume this ditch was not there, that's why it's designed this way, it goes straight through this ditch, which I'm not necessarily clear is up to code with the Putnam
The
Department.
future
of Health.
expansion.
Yeah. So you are gonna need to expand.
We would only have to put in a tank, but I'll probably have to put the expansion, the plan for expansion fields somewhere else on the property, depending on what the Department of Health says.
Okay, so we're talking about an expansion field, not a septic field.
Yeah,
So this came before us initially just from a referral from Greg because initially they just wanted to put an addition off of the southern wing of the house where it says existing walk-in step. Is that correct?
yep, exactly.
And there was question as to whether this dry ditch would be regulated under the Philipstown Wetlands and Watercourses Code. So I went out on the property and I delineated what the intermittent watercourses and some small, vernal wetland habitat that occurs throughout the property closer to Route 9 and flagged it. And then Andy went out and took a look because I had gone out there and saw there could be some ambiguity based on the way the site was developed as to how we would regulate this dry ditch essentially. And those are some of the photos that Andy had included and sent to you guys. So,
I mean, I'm looking at it that, not that it doesn't serve a drainage function, I think it's when they built the house, it was easier to bring in fill,
Yeah.
to raise everything, than it was to hammer, blast, chop.
so kind of the inception of that dry ditch, there's a culvert that runs under the road and catches it seems like a really small amount of stormwater. There's a stone wall on
Yeah, I think it's sheet flow at
Yeah.
best.
If you go to, I don't think it's any of these photos, but pretty much where you're standing right now is where this culvert is. If you go to the other side of the road, you actually don't even see where the culvert is because it's just filled in with dirt.
So if you keep walking down this dry ditch, you eventually get to a woods road that has just fill on top of stacks or like a stone base, like a big stone base, and they basically cut off any sort of sheet flow through that ditch down to the more intermittent wetland areas on the property, which eventually then convey down onto Route 9. So if you look to the right there where the vegetation is more green, beyond that you can see, it's kind of difficult to tell now because this is right after a lot of the leaves dropped, but you can tell that there are wetland characteristics and you can see where water sheet flows across the surface, and there's some small intermittent channels that lead down to a culvert along the state right of way on Route 9.
Yeah, there's actually about a 3-foot drop on the other side of that green vegetation.
Yeah, and where that picture was taken is the road that essentially cuts off what could have been a culvert, where a culvert could have been placed to connect that dry ditch back to that area. Matt's been in discussion with the health department because he's trying to expand with the addition, add a bedroom essentially to the house. And the health department is really relying heavily on us to determine whether or not that we would call that dry ditch a regulated watercourse and how we would handle that so that they can appropriately, guide him in the right administrative path for a septic permit for this project.
And if we were to deem the dry ditch an intermittent water course, they would probably want to have a crossing.
I think their suggestion was a piping that.
Yeah.
So if that's deemed an intermittent, water, in order to expand, I would need to bring the entire system up to code, and I would need to be, I believe, 50 feet away from the intermittent water, which puts me at, I believe, about the second or third line on the actual septic system. Everything from there over would be out of code, and I believe the tank, and I don't know exactly how far the tank goes towards the intermittent waterway, but I believe even part of the tank might fall within the intermittent waterway. And you can see that aside from even having my driveway, to the right of it, the 100 feet to the well comes within about 5 to 10 feet of my septic system. So there's really I would have to pick up the septic system and put it somewhere else on the property, which most of it's just covered in trees right now.
So for me, that dry ditch, I'm not really sure when it would ever flow, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, looking at it and what I've seen in the field.
I tend to agree with you.
It's just a mystery as to why it exists the way it exists. I mean, it's a little strange.
I think when they probably, like Andy was alluding to, when they subdivided the parcels on this and they had to come up with a stormwater plan for the clearing, they use dry ditches periodically where they'll vegetate a soil to stabilize it and allow, it's a practice that's used to catch stormwater that you can put in and put on a plan. And maybe it was installed there because they thought that, from a design perspective at the time, it was like, you're putting it in. Because there is a culvert, like I was saying, on the opposite side. I don't even know if you really needed to have any drainage there, to be honest with you. Just with it's very flat up there,
But the septic system,
Subdivided?
I'm not sure.
What was the question, sorry?
How long ago was it subdivided?
I believe it was subdivided around when the house was built. It's like 89, 90. So it's like 20 acres, and every plot is plus or minus 5 acres.
Is there a site plan for that we could look at that would explain what that is?
Probably. Well, there is a culvert there. I mean, I would call it that based on what it looks like as a dry ditch. I just don't know if they actually calculated how much water would even be going through. You know what I mean?
and the area, is raised up both for the construction of the house and the existing septic field.
Yeah.
So I think we have,
What if we thought about it in a different way?
Yeah.
What would be the impact if we went ahead and did what he wanted to do with the big tank there, the larger tank? I think even they added another field or whatever. If that wasn't intermittent, and it happened to run wet, what would be the impact? Is it significant if there's any impact?
It would really just be if the system failed, we'd be conveying contaminated stormwater down towards the next, intersection with whatever stream eventually.
If it started to flow significantly and the system and the
Failed.
septic failed at the
Right.
same time.
Well, yes and no, because it's already got, this is the expansion field that you're talking about.
Yeah, there's
So-
no septic there, and my hope is not to touch, I hope I don't even have to move it, but that's what Department of Health will tell me. If I have to do the expanded, my understanding with the expanding septic field is I just have to designate an area on my
Right.
property if I would ever need to build.
Right.
The only thing I'm hoping to do is take my tank and make it from I think it's 1,000 gallons to I think it's like 1,250 is the next level up. And that's all I would need based on my current built septic fields to move to a 4-bedroom.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the expansion field would be in the ditch, or
would
part
be
of
the
it.
other side of the
The
ditch.
other side of the ditch?
At the moment, I think it's essentially runs
Through it.
runs through 2 stone walls, a ditch, and then the other side, which is all wood chips. To be honest, I am now, was news to me once this person did the overlay. I'm nervous what the Department of Health's gonna tell me to do with this expansion field. But yeah, it runs through walls that are about 2 feet apart from each other, 2 stone walls about 3 feet high, drops down about, I'd say 4 to 5 feet from the bottom of the wall into the ditch and comes back up another 4 to 5 feet on wood chips.
But it's non-existent, you don't need that.
The only reason I would need
It's
that is
just
if my septic
land,
field
it's-
fails.
It's
Yeah.
just designated as part of the
Right.
process.
Area,
Right.
yeah, and they don't make you clear it anymore. They used to make you clear it all,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't
That's
do
my
that
understanding.
anymore.
Even logistically, like if they saw that and that ditch wasn't filled, it would. I don't even know how you'd really engineer that based on the topography of everything right now.
Yeah.
It's a significant. If you go back to that picture, you're like down 5 feet, and then the expansion area is 5 feet over your.
Right.
So you'd have to run a pipe through.
Have to fill it.
Yeah, you'd have to fill it, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to be filled.
Yeah, I mean, so my property does go, it cuts off on this, my property does continue, let's say to the, if I'm looking at it here, to the left. So I am wondering if they'll just have me move the expansion field across, but it does raise a good question that you're gonna have to run a pipe.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you need to run a pipe through the ditch, but,
Or under it.
You don't have to do
Over,
it, right? I
under.
mean, that's only if it fails and catastrophically, you have to eventually move it, right?
Right.
And currently, this dry ditch, like I said, it terminates at a stone wall that a woods road that was installed prior to Matt buying the house. Probably that would have been a violation at the time. It dead ends at that. And then I would say the majority of the hydrology start, like the actual hydrologic indicators start after that wall. So I don't really know. I mean, my thought would be, one, you could just extend the culvert across all the way down to that road, put a culvert underneath that road, and then fill on top of it, right? So it's just taking any of that stormwater off the road, potentially, and then dumping it further down on his property, kind of near where it says like 5.00 acres is probably where that starts on this plan. And or you could, eliminate this pipe completely and see if you could just take the stormwater and maybe put it along the road.
Right.
And
It is
fill that
steep
ditch.
on the north side of the road.
Yeah.
So the question is, I've seen it. Do you guys want to do a site visit before making a decision?
I think we probably should, yeah.
So do a
Yeah.
site visit, and then, I have a feeling you probably come to the same conclusion as Max and I
Yeah.
are leaning on, but I think it's worth looking at. And you're not planning to begin construction
no, at this point, we're waiting till spring.
so,
So, there's plenty of time.
all right. So-
Yeah. Initially, just to some level of response back from him too. So
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
So do we have any old business or new business?
Minutes, we didn't do minutes, right?
We
Or have-
didn't do minutes because they weren't distributed to us yet.
Yes, they were.
Were they?
I'll just be waiting.
I missed them.
Okay.
We'll wait till next month. I missed them. Sorry.
Read them over dinner.
That must have been a belong dinner. Okay, I think that was pretty easy. So do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we all, I should have said this before, we all got a very nice email from Jason, who is thanking us for our service and is leaving the town board. So I don't know who yet is going to be our liaison.
Right, we'll find out in January, I guess.
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
So,
Jason will be missed.
Yeah.
yes, he will be. Absolutely. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Good night.